horror movie should I talk about? No. Something not enough people know about. Huh. Nosferatu. I think this was the first silent movie I ever saw. Oh, hey. I was just talking about Nosferatu. You know, I think this is probably the most influential movie of all time. Because without it, I don't think, like, there'd really be a horror genre, really. Because without this movie, you wouldn't have Dracula, you wouldn't have Alien, and you really wouldn't have many movies with people standing in doorways menacingly, so like most horror movies. And it's pretty crazy because this movie is over 100 years old and it's still pretty chilling to watch to this day. So I'm gonna review it, but let's just hope that Count Orlok is not standing in my doorway, because that won't end well. But then again, he's over 100 years old now, so he'll probably just wither and die anyway. So, well, let's watch the movie. Now, I know that some people going into this movie might think that it's very slow or might be boring because it's very old, but Nosferatu is anything but that. Nosferatu, while not being an action-packed thriller or anything, is still extremely suspenseful, especially for 1922. So, for those of you that don't know, this movie is essentially Dracula, but the reason that it's not called Dracula and he's called Count Orlok instead is because Bram Stoker's widow said that if F.W. Murnau used the name Count Dracula, she would sue him. So instead, they changed it to Count Orlok, but some prints of the movie still say Count Dracula. So I have a challenge for anyone who thinks that this movie is not scary because it is like 100 years old. Watch this movie at nighttime and keep your door open and then try not to be scared. And I guarantee that you will fail. I compare this movie to Alien in one specific way. It has an incredibly vivid atmosphere to the point where everything in the movie feels incredibly real because it's fleshed out incredibly well. And I make the comparison between Alien and Nosferatu because at the time when I saw this movie, Alien was really the only other horror movie I had seen, and I had seen a lot of similarities in Alien that I had then seen in Nosferatu, making it abundantly clear that Alien was very much inspired by Nosferatu. I've since seen even more horror movies such as Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street, just to name a few, and in each one of those movies I saw even more influence from Nosferatu, making it even more clear that Nosferatu inspired a whole generation of horror movies. And I also say that this is one of the best silent movies to start out with, along with Sunrise, which is also by F.W. Murnau, City Lights, and also Modern Times, both starring Charlie Chaplin. And since Nosferatu is a silent movie, there's a lot of music playing in the background, but it actually helps quite a bit with developing suspense and also the sense of dread. Something this movie does that's actually kind of unique that I hadn't seen done before was it uses color tinting to help differentiate between the time of day. Like if it's blue, that means it's more than likely nighttime. If it's pink, that means it's about to be nighttime. And if it's orange, that means it's the daytime. And it really helps differentiate between the time of day because if it was black and white, I wouldn't really be able to know. And in conclusion, Nosferatu is a masterpiece of the horror genre. Without it, there really would not be any horror movies in my opinion. It's pretty incredible that this movie was made in 1922 and here I am talking about it today in 2020. What does that tell you? So not so surprisingly, Nosferatu absolutely gets an A+.